Hi guys, welcome to the third edition of the Let's Hangout series from LetsVenture. Today we have with us probably the most successful startup of all time. We're going to be hanging out with Google today. And I would like to welcome Sunil Rao, the country head for developer relations and startup ecosystem in India. Hi Sunil,
Hello, hi Ganesh, hi everyone.
welcome to today's Let's Hangout and thanks for hosting us in this wonderful office. It's absolutely uh, colorful and a lot of free food everywhere, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the way Google offices are worldwide.
Great, great. So Sunil, let's kick things off. If you can just give us a quick, background to Google's initiative in terms of developer relations and startup ecosystem, just to give us an understanding of the commitment that Google has for startups in India.
Okay, cool. Hello, good evening everyone. Thanks for having me here. Let me just talk a little bit about the startup ecosystem itself. Let me go back to the year 2010 when the startup ecosystem was in pretty much in nascent stages. I want to keep 2010 as a baseline for all our conversations during this hangout today. In the year 2010, we had close to 260 registered startups coming out of India. And just fast forward it to the year 2014, December, we had close to 980 startups coming out of India. And that's a pretty phenomenal increase. And at the going rate, the number of registered startups in India in the year 2015 is going to be something like around 2,000. So we're going to doubling it up this year. And what is really happening in the ecosystem, and why do you feel that there's a huge surge as to why people are going the startup way and not joining any other company? There are a couple of reasons for that. One is I think the ecosystem has really come together in order to support the startups. It could be Google or it could be anyone else in the ecosystem. The mentors are getting serious in order to support the ecosystem. There are so many venture capitalists in the country, a lot of angel investors. The government is much more startup friendly. So I think everything is working fine for the startups. I want to deep dive a little bit into what kind of startups are coming in which part of the town. If you're looking in a country like India, close to around 26% of the registered startup in 2014 came out from Bangalore alone. And the next city was Delhi NCR region, which had close to 24% of the startups came from there. And the third startup city in the country was Mumbai, followed by Chennai and Hyderabad. So these five cities, if you compare, contribute to close to 95% of the startups which have been incorporated in India. And definitely, if you're looking at the kind of split in terms of B2B as well as B2C, traditionally, Bangalore has been a city where a lot of B2B companies are incorporated, just because a lot of people who got wealth of knowledge, who have been working for different companies, and they know what exactly the B2B community wants, and they're coming out with their own product line. If you're looking at Delhi NCR region, almost 80% of the companies which have been incorporated over there are in the B2C space, right? And when you're looking again in Mumbai and when you're looking in Chennai, there are a lot of gaming companies, and everyone, from an ecosystem perspective, everyone has got its own strengths, and the entire ecosystem is growing. Other important thing that we noticed in the year 2014 was almost around 20% of these companies were started from garages, from students who are just passed out of college. And the good news is there are a lot of guys who went through Google interview process, and after crossing around 8 rounds of interviews, they said, hey, you know what, I won't be joining Google, but I want to start the next Google starting out of Bangalore, and they started their own companies. So we are seeing this trend where a lot of people who are just fresh out of college, they are having their own startups. 20% is a huge number. When you're talking about 1,000, almost around 200 companies are started by students who are fresh out of college. That's a great trend. And when you're looking at the entire Google ecosystem, I want to come and deep dive into what Google is doing from an ecosystem perspective. We at Google want to call ourselves as a 15-year-old startup, because we still function as a startup even today. Things move at a very enormous pace. We take decisions very quickly, and we are able to spot out the next big opportunity. Even though not everything that we might take up might be that successful, but we at least know that we are not missing the next big trend, whether it could be videos. We are doing great in terms of YouTube, whether it's a mobile kind of a strategy, we are doing extremely well when it comes to Android. So we don't want to miss any kind of the big bus, and we want to keep our eyes and ears open on what the next big technology and trend is going to be, and want to be razor sharp focused on that. To talk about developer relations is a team within Google, within the engineering team, which concentrates on evangelizing Google products to hundreds and thousands of developer communities globally. We have a team based out of Bangalore, and I'm responsible for running the developer relations team here, along with the startup ecosystem. So I personally spend almost around 80% of my time talking to startups and trying to know what kind of help they need from Google. There are a couple of communities which are really striving, doing really well within the Google ecosystem. One is called the Google Developer Groups. This is a community which has got close to 45 chapters in India, and Bangalore is incidentally one of the most active chapters globally. So you got hundreds and thousands of Android developers who are part of this ecosystem. They meet once a month. They talk about the Google technologies. They demo their product. They talk about you can also come in over there if you're just an enthusiast. You come over there, you talk about your big idea, you demo your product if you got a product. You also can meet your co-founders over there because there are a lot of like-minded people. So this is a great platform for any startup enthusiast to be a part of the Google ecosystem. You can start from there. And the next community, the initiative that we have for the startups is called the Startup Launch Program. So Startup Launch Program is a program for early stage startups who are interested to be a part of the Google ecosystem. If you just Google for Google Startup Launch, it'll take you to a site where you can go and register your startup and be a part of this wonderful ecosystem that Google is setting up for the startup community globally. Once you're part of that program, if you got more questions regarding anything which has got to do on any particular technology, there's the next stage that you can go, which is called the build stage, where we select close to around 25 to 30 companies every quarter, and we do a deep dive, intense mentorship program with them, and it's called the Launchpad program. So there are two programs. One is called the Startup Launch. So anyone who is interested to be a part of the Google ecosystem can be a part of it. The next one, which is a face-to-face mentoring program, is called the Startup Launch Program. So this is a 5-day deep dive mentoring program across a couple of things. We do mentor them on product management. We do mentor them on UI, UX, on technology, go-to-market, digital marketing, and finally we end up the 5th day with a large pitch day and a demo day where a lot of VCs and investors would be there to have a look at your product and give you first-hand feedback on that. And we plan to do it one every quarter. And by end of 2015, we would have we got a goal of directly impacting 100 early-stage startups and handholding them and provide them all the love and support that we can do from Google in order to take them to the next stage and make them really successful. So that's about the Launchpad program. Incidentally, we are kickstarting our first Launchpad program for 2015 on February 2nd to 6th in Bangalore, and all the 20 startups have been shortlisted, and we have also got a pool of 30 very good mentors who have signed up to be a part of the Google ecosystem. So we've got who's who of the industry in terms of product management, on user experience, and everyone. The good part is everyone wants to give it back to the ecosystem. Everyone wants to contribute back to the ecosystem and see that the ecosystem really thrives. And I've always been talking about this in all my public speeches, that the biggest lacuna that the Indian ecosystem currently is having is lack of good quality mentors. Unfortunately, 50% of the companies which start don't last beyond 18 months and they die. The mortality rate is extremely high. Imagine 1,000 companies start up, and at the end of 18 months, only 500 of them survive and do something meaningful in life. The mortality is not because the ideas are not great. The mortality is not, this is one surprising piece of data. The mortality is not because they didn't have money. to run the company for next 1 year or 2 years. It's never been the money. You've got amazing ecosystem of angel investors. There are 400 VCs in the country. How many of you knew it, right? So that's a great ecosystem to have, and all this is falling in place. This is the right time for an entrepreneur to be starting his journey. Everyone is there to support you, but the biggest thing which was missing was the mentor ecosystem. And we at Google want to fill in this gap of mentors and get world-class mentors to be a part of this ecosystem and mentor companies for 3 to 6 months in order to really make them successful, right? So we want to see more successful companies coming out of India, more and more successful companies going to the global stage and making their presence, and we will be in a position to give you that kind of market access and take it to the next level. So that's about the Google startup ecosystem, and we are really, really excited to be starting our global 2015 startup launchpad program, kickstarting in our own Bangalore city. So we're really proud of that. So that's in just about what Google is doing in general, and we also doing what is called design sprints. We are working with the top partners and bringing them up to speed on the latest in technology. It could be when you're working on Android, this entire philosophy of design, which is called material design. So we are working with the top 100 partners in order to see to it that they implement material design in all their apps. And at the end of the day, we want apps which are good looking, which are much more simpler, which are non-cluttered, and it's easy to use. And that's what we are teaching. And UI UX is one of the biggest gaps that we see in the industry, and we definitely want to address that and take that problem head on from Google's perspective. And we'll be doing this design sprints across the country. As we speak today, there's a design sprint which is happening in Mumbai, and next week we are doing a design sprint for our key partners in Delhi, and last weekend we had a design sprint in Bangalore. So it's a full-fledged calendar, and the developer relations team is out here to help the startups from technology to product management to go-to-market, whatever the startups are really looking out for. So that's in Ganesh in a nutshell on what Google is doing, how we see the ecosystem, and how we can really contribute.
Wow, that's awesome, and I think the startup launch is something that people can register to kind of get in the mix of all these things that are happening, right?
Startup launch program, yeah. See, startup launch is a program where you can first enroll, and we would be looking at the pipeline of who is really good in that pipeline and select the top 25 of them for every batch. So
Okay.
the first thing that you have to do is go and register yourself for the startup launch program. Give as much as details that you want regarding the program, and we can take it up from there.
Great, great, great. And just switching gears, Sunil. So these are great programs, and I think you are interacting with a lot of startups, and you're seeing, what are the big ideas that they're working on. So from your vantage point, what are the hot areas, hot opportunities, both from an India perspective as well as from a global perspective, that startups are looking at.
Okay. Wish I knew the right kind of answer for this, because if we knew that this is a technology, this is the kind of idea that I need to bet on, I would have personally started the company. But having said that, what I'm seeing is a lot of companies, especially in Bangalore, are in the B2B, in the analytics space. Lot of almost around 70% of the companies that were incorporated last year were in the analytics space. And the only advice that I'm giving to startups at this point in time is just try to work on a problem which could be global in nature, and try to work on a problem which you have faced it personally, and don't try to solve someone else's problem, because you won't be passionate enough if you're trying to solve, if I'm trying to solve Ganesh's problem or Kasturi's problem or someone else's problem. It's the problem that you would have faced if you're, especially in the B2C space, if this is the problem that you have been facing it in your day-to-day life, how do you go ahead and solve it personally? And you are able to relate to it much better, and there'll be hundreds and thousands of people like you, not just in India, even globally, who might be having exactly that kind of problem, right? And the other trend that I'm seeing, especially in the ecosystem, is for the very first time, I've seen startups coming out with solutions for the Indian consumer. right? Yeah, every time it used to be only the West. It's like I'm developing an app for someone in US or someone in Europe, but now someone is serious enough to say, hey, it is an India strategy. I'm going mobile first, definitely, because you're adding close to 7 million new internet users every single month. So that's a huge number. So you got a huge amount of internet users in the country. And incidentally, last month we crossed the magic mark of 300 million internet users from India alone. That makes us the second biggest set of internet users after China. So we have surpassed US, which are something like around 280 million. So it's the second biggest internet users in the world, and people are really serious to address the issues which is for the Indian consumer. And everyone is going to tackle the Indian consumer first, and then build it up from there and take it to the next level.
Great,
I
great.
also want to talk a little bit about one very important program that Google has launched, which is all about creating a test bed for hundreds and thousands of developers to use to test their mobile apps. So if you are got a mobile app and if it's in the beta stage and if you want people to test your apps, there are these test beds where around 1,000 developers have registered to test your apps for free, right? And you can go over there, you can register over there, put in your app, and get some real time feedback on your app. So that's a great value add, because it's high time you should stop asking your friends, relatives, your wife or husband to keep testing your app, because all you get to hear is good news. That is the best app that they've ever seen in their life. But try to get in front of the real users and try to get some real feedback. We are trying to set up this kind of a network of test beds across the country. So based on where you are, you can probably be a part of the Google Developer Group networks and submit your app and get some real feedback.
Sure, sure. And another question I wanted to ask you, Sunil, since you're seeing a lot of these startups, you have a program for developers, you have also a design track. How important is it for a team to have both these elements and also the ability to kind of hustle and get the business side of things done? You mentioned 50% of the startups are dying out for reasons apart from resources like money and other things. So how far does this role of balance between different skill sets play out in a startup?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you're talking about a startup, unfortunately, what people don't understand is you can't be the idea generator, you can't be the coder, you can't be the UX guy, you can't be the go-to-market guy. So you need different skill sets. You need people. You need to partner with different people and have a good founding team. If you feel that you're strong in technology, because most of the kind of companies that you're supporting are really strong on technology front, you need a guy who is able to give you a user experience perspective. And you also need to know who my end user is and who will be the end consumer of my app at the end of the day. So you need to have all this perspective. So it's very important to build the initial team from day one. I know it's not possible to get all the co-founders on day one, but start looking out for people who have got this kind of a complementary skills and try to build it up from there and see to it that you work together as a team. And unfortunately, last year we saw at least around another 20% of the companies just losing out and shutting shop because of difference of opinion between the co-founders, right? Someone wanted to do something else, and there's some other vision that some other co-founder has, and you eventually drop out. So try to spend a lot of time. If you're a fresher and if you're coming out of college, the best way is to work with your classmate whom you're knowing for last 4 years, and you know how well you gel with him or not. Or ideally, most of the co-founders come when you have been working as co-workers in the same company for a long time, and you know what are the kind of skill set that are bringing to table. So take a considerable amount of time in choosing your co-founders, and don't make the mistake of shutting down shop because there's a founder conflict at some point in time.
Right, right. And another question tied to this is a lot of startups are looking at a global play, right? And sometimes some of these skill sets they may not have because they don't have global experience. So how can Google kind of help these guys out? You said you have the Google developer groups across 45 different cities, and you have a lot of mentors inside Google, who can actually help these guys get a global perspective. So what are the different ways in which startups can actually leverage Google on this front?
Okay. Now, that's a great question. I think the value add that we'll be bringing from Google, especially the key partners that we'll be working with, would be to give access to the global consumers. It could be in terms of promotion, but promotion definitely comes in the end. Uh, but at least give them the right kind of a direction and right kind of advice as to what are the ways and means to be reaching them, right? So yeah, that's definitely one of the key USPs of the kind of programs that we are bringing to table. We do teach them how to go global. We'll give them market access, which is the key thing, and also help them shape in such a way that the product is scalable enough from a technology standpoint to be catering to hundreds and thousands of consumers globally. So that's a good problem to have. Scalability is a good problem to have when you've got a lot of people who are interested in your product and you need to just scale up. So from a technology standpoint and from the market accessibility standpoint, we'd be more than happy to be helping them out.
Sure. So Sunil, I want to open up the questions to the audience. So we have a lot of questions pouring in. Uh, Vikram Jha has posted a question, which is about Google Ventures, right? So is Google Ventures present in India? How do Indian startups actually reach out to Google Ventures?
Google Ventures is not in India. As I said, the biggest gap that we want to fill in the ecosystem currently is that of mentoring. There are some amazing set of angel investors, a lot of VCs who are always looking out for great ideas and great founding teams. And frankly, if you ask me, I don't think so. We'll be able to add any kind of a new value by just coming out here and help them with investment. There are a lot of people who are doing a great job, and we want to fill the current problem in the ecosystem, which is on the mentoring side of stuff. So we want to just concentrate on that.
Sure, got it. I'll just take another question from Alok Mishra. He wants to know what would be the priority of Google. Is it more of B2B or more of B2C in terms of the startups that you support?
In our first batch of our startup Launchpad, it was not planned, but it's just so happened that 50% of them are B2B and another 50% are in B2C. But having said that, we don't make a choice on this is what we are looking out for. It's any great idea which has got a great potential, which we feel would be able to help hundreds and thousands of consumers globally. So the whole concept is the idea good enough to be taken out globally? That's what we are looking out for. I think B2B or B2C is just, it doesn't matter at this point in time.
Sure. We have another question from Alok. He wants to ask you about the tier 2 and tier 3 markets in India. How is Google reaching out to them, and what are the platforms for them to kind of engage with Google and get this exposure?
Okay. So we got a couple of programs, as I said. Google Developer Group is one such program where we are there in more than around 45 different cities in India, right? And that definitely, if you're looking at the top tier 1 countries, we are definitely there. Apart from that, we are there in Indore, we are there in different parts of Gujarat, we are in Baroda. So there are a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities where we engage and evangelize Google products on a regular basis. So that's the first step. If you're interested to be a part of the Google ecosystem, that's the first place that you can start with and get to know more about Google. So apart from that, we also do large format events, which is done by the GDGs itself, which we call them as DevFest once a year, where the latest and the greatest from Google standpoints in terms of technology, we showcase it out there. So there's a lot of outreach which is already happening in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and I don't think so we'll be doing anything different this year. It's just sustaining this program over a period of time and taking it to the next level.
Sure, sure. We have a very pointed question, but I'll ask that to you any which way. So there is a person named Srinivas, and he wants to ask you if he wants to integrate his drone with Skybox. How can he approach Google, and what can he request out of Google for this?
Uh, these are, as I said, very pointed questions, and the technology. See, we at this point in time, let me make it very clear. Even though we are working on tons of solutions, I've got people coming and getting in touch with me saying, "Hey, can I work and contribute towards the driverless cars, or can I go ahead and contribute to the Glass project or the Loon project, which are what you call as the 10x kind of a projects or the moonshot thinking projects." Uh, Frankly, all the teams are sitting out of Mountain View at this point in time. We locally and our Google offices in India won't be in a position to be helping it out directly. But
Mhm.
if we see any kind of very bright sparks, we would be able to pass it on to the global teams. But locally, what we are really looking out for is companies who are working on apps, irrespective whether it's a B2B or a B2C play. Uh, if there's any kind of a help that they are looking out from that perspective, we'll be more than happy to be help them out.
Sure. We have another question from Logesh Kumar. He wants to know about the Google Startup Kit, and how startups can get qualified to actually access some of the goodies that Google can offer to startups.
Yeah, I think the good starting point for any startup in order to be a part of the ecosystem is go ahead and enroll for the startup launch program. Okay, so just go ahead and just go ahead and be a part of that program, and every startup would be at a basic level. They'll be qualified in order to get some cloud credits, right? If you're working on a cloud infrastructure, you'll be able to get cloud credits. And there is a program where if you are really serious and if you see there's a lot of value add that they are bringing, then we are also giving out cloud credits worth $100,000 for the deserving startups for a
Hmm.
year. And there are a lot of Maps API credits and Photos credits that we are giving as a part of that $100,000 credit that we are giving to deserving startups. So definitely the good starting point would be to start where you can enroll yourself, your company for the launch program, and then be a part of the ecosystem and be actively participating and contributing to the Google developer groups.
Sure, sure. We have another question. With regard to the failure rate of startups which you spoke about, the startups that you have kind of interacted with, what are the top mistakes that startups are making which they don't need to make? Are there wheels that startups are reinventing? Are there mistakes that they just should not be making because it's not required? Are you seeing some of those patterns, and what are they?
Yeah, we definitely keep seeing after almost talking to around two or three startups every single day over the last couple of years. There's definitely a pattern that we are seeing out here. Uh, I'll just tell you the scenario which used to happen in the past. Uh, in the past, most of the ideas were global ideas and they were trying to localize it, and it used to be just a pure copy of a great idea.
Hmm.
And that definitely doesn't work if you're just copying an idea. There has to be something different uh, from what the global players are offering at that point in time. The second one is most of them were reinventing the wheel in terms of technology. There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of ready-made tools which are already there and for you to use, but you're not using it and you're starting everything from scratch. So definitely you haven't done your homework well in terms of knowing what kind of technology is already there. And for example, the greatest example could be uh, just your Google Cloud credits or knowing who is giving what kind of a freebie so that I can leverage that and use it as a part of my technology stack instead of paying for something, right? So all
Right.
you need to do at this point in time is be street smart and know who is offering what kind of credits, know what kind of technology stack is there. And the most important thing is to know your consumer really well. Who is your end consumer? Uh, you can. There's nothing wrong if midway through your project, if you want to do a course correction, and if you are getting some kind of a mentorship at some point in time, you can pivot your product and do something completely different. So just to give you interesting statistics, especially in the US, in the startups, almost around 50% of the time the startups have pivoted in such a way that when they started the product, the intention and the consumer, the target audience was completely different, and they ended up selling to someone else, and they pivoted at the right time. So you'd be considered really smart if you are able to be a little bit flexible and take the advice of the mentors at the right time. And for that, you should definitely have a great set of mentor network whom you are able to consult on a informal basis. So from day one of the time you get an idea, socialize it as much as possible. Try to get feedback from as many people as possible, and try to have mentors in that space. And be flexible enough to be pivoting your ideas and not just keep working endlessly. Just to give an example again, however great the product is, do not take more than around 12 to 18 months to go to market, right? There's something fundamentally wrong that you're doing if you're taking more than 18 months. You can't be taking that kind of time for any kind of product, right? So be much more agile. Use your agile methodology as much as possible. Be highly flexible. Be flexible enough to be pivoting your ideas, and take the advice of mentors pretty much seriously, because they are definitely coming out with tons of experience.
Sure. Thanks, Sunil. So we have another question. This is from Niveta. Does Google have any specific programs to encourage women entrepreneurs globally, and anything specific in India?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are pretty much a lot of very women-specific events that we do at Google. There's something called the Women Tech Makers. Just go and have a look at it, Nivedita. It's a great event. We do a lot of hangouts. We do a lot of hackathons, which are exclusive women-related events. As a matter of fact, our partner NASSCOM 10K, next weekend they are doing a hackathon for women developers. So just go ahead and keep your eyes and ears open on what Google is doing and what our partners like NASSCOM 10K are doing for the women entrepreneurs. There's a lot of scope for women developers to be doing something great. And we are also setting aside few slots for women entrepreneurs to be a part of the Launchpad program. So we are definitely giving preference to women entrepreneurs, and we want them to do a lot of things on the technology front.
Great, great. Another question we just got is from Richa Singh. Does Google support startups in the social space?
It's again, we take it on a total case-to-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
So the bottom line is pretty much simple. If you're using technology in such a way that you're able to scale your business, it could be social, it could be anything. And if technology is your underlying platform, then definitely Google would be interested in that, to reach. So it's all about scale and how do you use it wisely.
Sure, sure. I want to ask another slightly different question. We spoke about Google Ventures, about the funding piece. What about the acquisition piece? Is Google going to start acquiring Indian startups, or is that something that is in the purview of things in the short term?
Definitely, if you can, all this information is there in public space. I think Google Capital made their second investment in India just a couple of days back with Common Floor, and earlier to that, it was last year. It was Freshdesk, which was the first investment that they made in India. So Freshdesk and Common Floor, two big investments in India, and definitely they'll be keeping their eyes and ears open for companies who will be leveraging where technology is the core, and Google will be definitely interested where we feel that definitely will be able to value add to those kind of startups, and the investment will be completely strategic and on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, great. So just trying to filter through some of the questions. In the meantime, Sunil, in terms of the startup launch program, could you just give us a little more details in terms of what are the activities that will happen on that program, and what are the benefits that the startups would get?
Okay, sure. What we're trying to do out here is it's a 5-day program, and we'll be starting our very first day on February 2nd on the product piece, on the product management piece, and we'll be taking all the startups through little bit on the best practices of product management, and get some very good mentors to be hand-holding these startups on a one-is-to-one basis. So each startup will get an opportunity to talk to around 3 mentors during the course of the day. So the days have been split into a product day, a technology day, a UI UX day, and a go-to-market day. And the fifth and the final day will also help them out with pitch session. How do you pitch to an investor, and what does the best pitch deck look like? And at the end of the day, we'll be all these 20 companies would be allowed to pitch to the top 20 or 30 VCs will be coming in for the event. So that's how the program looks like. It's a 5-day event. It'll start with the product day, and it'll end with a pitch session.
Okay, great, great. We have a question from Saji. Once we get into the startup launch program, how do we apply to the Launchpad program, and how do we track, if we are making the cut?
So that once everything comes in the pipeline, definitely we go through each and every application which has come through, and if you're able to, when you make the cut, Google will be able to get in touch with you directly, and we do let them know about if you need to get any kind of a more clarification on what kind of help they need, and if you feel that we'll be able to value add, then we shortlist those companies. So definitely. It's again a case-to-case basis. We'll pick up the top 20 guys and we'll intimate them directly. So that's it happens. Then we also publish it saying these are the top 25 companies who made it this quarter.
Sure, sure. So you're looking at startups who can make most use of the help you're providing, right?
Exactly.
But in terms of stage, is there anything specific to look at? Do they need to be?
That's a great question. So. Basically, we are looking at early stage pre-accelerator startup who have got a MVP in place, who have got full-time founders with at least one representation of technology, one representation of user experience, and one go-to-market guy or a marketing guy. Because there's certain learnings that we have got in the past when we did Launchpad in different parts of the globe. What we realized is it becomes pretty much futile if you keep giving feedback regarding product management or user experience, but the founder doesn't understand anything about that, and he's more about a go-to-market guy, right? So we are definitely looking out for teams which has got equal representation of all this 4 to 5 ingredients in order to be successful. If you are outsourcing the product to someone else, if some third-party company is developing your product, get them on board and see to it they are also part of this Launchpad program. So what happens, you'll be surprised to know what happens at the end of the day after this 5-day session would be almost around 25 to 30% of the company would have pivoted their product and they would have come out with a brand new business model. Most of them would have changed their UI UX because of the kind of feedback. What happens is we give them feedback till around 6 or 7 p.m. and these guys startups go back home and they work the entire night and come back with the next set of mocks or the docs as such. And we vet it and we say, hey, this looks much better and this is good to go. So most of them pivot and most of them are able to show a huge amount of progress within that 1 week itself.
Awesome, awesome. So we have another question from Jitin, and he wants to ask about incorporating his startup, right? So of course we have Indian startups who are incorporated in the US and Singapore. So from a Google perspective, does that make any difference in terms of how they engage with you? And what would you suggest for a startup which is attacking the global markets? Should they consider incorporating in US or Singapore?
I think the companies could be incorporated anywhere. It could be incorporated in India, but definitely if you want to do business in different parts of the world, some people would like to incorporate it in the US and look at the consumers over there, and there are certain obligations that you have, and it has to be incorporated in that land. But if you're talking in specific about the Launchpad program, this is a global program. This happens in Israel, this happens in Brazil, this happens in different parts of the globe. This will happen in probably even in Southeast Asia. So this is just not an India-specific program. This is a global program, And if you got teams in different parts of the world who want to be a part of this program, they can just apply over there and can probably get selected in that part of the world itself. It's not just they have to be within India alone.
Sure, but if they're operationally based in Bangalore, but they are a US entity, they can still apply for the program in Bangalore?
They can still apply for a program in Bangalore, yes.
Okay, okay, cool. We have another question from Tony.
Okay.
He wants to ask if I need to reach out to a particular Google technology team regarding a partnership, how do I go about it? Is there a specific channel for this?
What we do is uh, we want to be the gatekeepers of who gets in touch with whom, because these are all your software engineers who will be doing their day job, and they have to take time out in order to be solving the problems of the startups. So we would be acting like a gatekeeper, and it will be channelized through us, and we liaise internally and get back to them if they need any information on any specific API, on any specific integration process. If it is anything related to Android, we've got an in-house team, part of my team itself, where people will be able to give you feedback on that locally itself. So everything is channelized through the local developer relations team out here.
Sure. So they need to join GDG or Startup Launch?
Probably join. Yeah, most of it, you can also get most of the solutions online. There are a lot of programs that Google runs, or be a part of Google Developer Group community, and especially if it is in Bangalore, you'll have one or two Googlers who are always present for the event, and you can pose the questions over there.
Sure. We have a question from Abhilash. Abhilash has an idea, but is kind of stuck. He doesn't know how to move ahead. Can he still join some of these initiatives to find people who he can join and do something?
Yeah, the starting point for people like Abhilash would be to join Google Developer Group, and probably vet his ideas and socialize his idea with like-minded people. And for all you know, he might be able to find a tech guy who's ready to implement his product, a UI UX guy who's able to help you with the user flow. So the good starting point is be a part of the Google Developer Group community itself. And startup launch program is for people who have already got a product in place, who have got a MVP in place, and they need further help in terms of technology or product management or user experience or go-to-market. Right? So it's a different program. You should have a product in place in that case. But if you're at the idea stage, I think you should just go to the Google Developer Group.
Sure. Another question regarding the Launchpad. This is from Manas. He's asking about the funding bit. From your experience, when do you suggest a startup should actually look out for funding?
Hello?
Yeah, hi Sunil.
Yeah, can you repeat it? I just lost you.
Sure. So Manas had a question regarding the funding piece, and this is with regard to Launchpad. So post Launchpad, is there a specific channel for them to actually reach out to funding, and what do you suggest? What is the best time for them to actually consider trying to raise funds?
Google Launchpad is not a platform for raising funds. For that, you got LetsVenture. Google, this is a mentorship program, and you like it or not, I think once you're part of this network and you come out of this, you will definitely get a good hearing from all the VCs that you want to go in touch with, and trust me, you should be very particular on why do you need the fund for. You might not need not every startup needs fund. So let's put it that way. 50% of the startups don't need fund, right? And you should be very clear on why you need the fund for. So please do understand that the VCs out there are not there to fund your idea. The VCs are over there are looking for your commitment in order to invest your personal time and money to build a product, and they are seeing some traction in the market. You've got hundreds and thousands of initial consumers. Then you need money in order to build your technology stack and make it much more robust, and if you need it for marketing, then you can go ahead and approach. But at a very early stage, I don't think so any of them would need this kind of money, or forget needing money. I don't think so. Startup, any VC would even entertain at that point in time, until unless you got some angel investors. Most of the time, it's your family and friends who will, for your first angels, who give you the so-called seed money.
Sure. We have a question from Sarah regarding IoT. With IoT becoming a trend these days, what would be your advice to a startup venturing into the IoT space?
Yeah, so IoT definitely, it's definitely picking up. Unlike any of our competitors, we do not brand IoT as a different kind of space itself. We again call them one of the technology enablers. So there are a lot of people who are off late. I've seen at least around 10% of the companies in the IoT space, but it's just picking up at this point in time, and you should be really sure on how you are positioning it, and who are the kind of your first initial consumer is going to be, or are you already tying up with the OEM when you're working on this kind of technology? It's pretty much nascent currently, so you should have done your homework really well. It's very difficult for someone fresh out of college to come out with an IoT idea and really make it big. So there's a lot of experience which goes into understanding what are the gaps in the market, and then try to build something on that.
Great, great. All right, Sunil, I think we'll have to wrap up the session here, but there are a lot of other questions which are come up. So the guys who are asking these questions, we'll have Sunil answer them separately over Twitter or Google Plus, and also we can send out some mails if you need some specific clarification. Thanks a lot for your time, Sunil. Thanks for hosting us, and it was great hanging out with you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity, and would be pretty much interested to talk to each one of you at some point in time. But all the very best. Don't give up, and do great things. Thank you.
Great, great. Thanks, Sunil. Thanks, everybody.